Welcome back to your latest RTS news. I have a host of amazing updates and new content for you to dive into, so let's not waste any time and start with Dustfront and its destruction mechanics demonstration. The solo indie dev behind this highly atmospheric upcoming RTS has posted an amazing update on his development progress, and not only did we get to see how structures and terrain take damage, but also what happens in the aftermath of air bombings or artillery strikes. Seeing textures on very large objects change shape, terrain becoming filled with craters that units can move through, and small objects blowing up into pieces is just a slice of this demonstration. Those structures with actual HP bars turn into dust, and all of this is just astounding for a solo developed game, even if it has been in the works for a decade or so. Debris falling on units and destroying them in the process is just the cherry on this very dark cake. No, there was no release date announcement hiding at the end of the video dev blog, but my gut is telling me that we will be playing this game before the year is out, in one form or another. Mark my words, fellow gamers. The next big update is about the indie RTS project, which got funded some time ago, and you know it as Defcon Zero Frontlines of Tomorrow. They have employed more people on the project to flesh out art, environments, UX, 3D assets and more. In these clips we got to see a harvester unit, some buildings and HQs, as well as power generation farms. The two factions will differ quite a bit in both units and buildings, but also in design, tactics and execution. Devs did make sure to explain that a demo version is not yet ready, but there will be a chance in late 2026 for some players to come in and test some features and mechanics. They also advised keeping an eye on their official Discord channel for such opportunities. As for the engine, while it is Unreal, it is also changed in many ways, as that engine in particular is very unaccommodating for RTS gameplay. Also, do remember, this project is single player first, and while devs do want to make multiplayer at some point, it will probably be for a sequel. I advise you to be part of their community early on if you want to find yourself in a situation where they can trust you with a work-in-progress version to test out and give your feedback directly to them. Until then, wishlist it on Steam so they have more visibility on that platform. Another upcoming project you're probably wondering about is Sanctuary Shattered Sun, and its devs held their second Ask Me Anything live multiplayer event. The good news is that I have new info about it, and the even better news is that I have new footage as well, multiplayer PvP in fact. So if it isn't zoomed in enough or the camera jumps too quickly, don't blame me. The only bad news is that they aren't funded yet, nor have they launched their Kickstarter yet. Now, in the light of the very successful Dwarf Kickstarter, you might wonder why. But devs of Dwarf launched it without a demo, and devs of Sanctuary want to give players a demo to get a taste for the gameplay. In these clips, you will probably recognize gameplay of many similar past games, but try to remember that is just the baseline. What will set Sanctuary Shattered Sun apart is titanic tech tier 5 units, terrain destruction and dropping enemies into the sun below, freezing lakes and more wild features like that. The three factions are very distinct in both their units and buildings. We will have land, air and naval combat as well as super weapons, and I hope once the devs iron out their multiplayer, we are going to have lots of fun in the demo. An indie RTS game project that already has a demo you can play on Steam and which its devs have updated several times is Crimson Freedom. They have a very small team and I am proud of them as they are my own countrymen. They read your feedback about the need for snappier units, so they reduced the unit's turn rate and tweaked their acceleration and deceleration. Other changes they have made will let you micro units better, and especially once you have lots of units on the field, while unit stances have been improved so unmicroed units still do their job well. Unit recruitment buildings have also been changed, so when you have them in control groups, you can set rally points for all of them at the same time. An idle builder button has been added, as well as refund and termination for buildings and units, while unit control group management has been improved. Even the hero-like characters have had their abilities tweaked and quality of life features introduced for them. I hope you will spin up this demo again and try out the changes for yourself, while also wishlisting it and pushing it past the 20k wishlists it already has. And mentioning my country, it is small, but we have lots of talented game developers here, like the folks from Digital Void, who worked on the Lords of the Fallen, for example, but have now developed their own game concept, which I have the honor of revealing on my channel. Its title is Revenant Rangers, and it is set in a cursed American Wild West, which has become infested with the spawn from hell led by 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. You take the mantle of a Revenant Ranger, an undead gunslinger recruited from hell's worst sinners, and your mission, along with up to 3 friends, is to hunt down those escaped demons, reclaim their souls, and maybe earn your way out of damnation. Gameplay blends third-person shooting with a deck-building system where you use infernal poker cards to unleash elemental abilities, like fire, blood, earth, and air. You even gamble with the devil himself. If you are up to such a PvE experience and have friends you want to take into this version of Wild West, make sure to wishlist the game using the link in the description of this video.
2,000 years ago, the others emerged from the dark and turned the world into a graveyard.
I am happy to report that indie developers of Ablight have let me test out their progress with the campaign and player onboarding experience, and they have even added some nice new cutscene artwork and voiceovers to tell the story to the player. This is all work in progress and nothing is final, so keep that in mind as you watch the latest gameplay from the Cyberpunk and Dieselpunk themed game.
Enough hiding, Attilius!
Base building is as you would expect, with a builder unit, several types of resources to collect, and food, for example, can be collected from bushes, from local wildlife, but also at farms you build and operate. There are 3 factions in total, but I'm going to be showing you just the Guardians right now, and the Inquisition as my enemies on this map. There is a huge array of tech upgrades and improvements for units, buildings and your economy, 3 types of units which can also be divided into mechanical and organic, and from your HQ you can use certain powers which can be both destructive and defensive. Devs have overhauled the UI, made lots of visual improvements, and now buildings have special animations when working on recruiting new units. I hope you will make sure to wishlist this game, and if you want to see more, I have several dedicated videos on this game I have made before while playing it skirmish, linked up here and in the description, but I can make another if you are interested. Do let me know in the comments. Now we move on to a lush historical setting, even if some artistic liberty is taken with the announcement of the new Age of Empires 4 DLC. It is titled UFA's Legacy and its release date is 7th of May. So in less than a month you can start playing a whole new campaign set in 2 new biomes of northern China through 8 missions. Your task will be to save a collapsing empire and its people, but you will also be able to use the Jin Dynasty in casual matches, custom games and ranked play with 4 new maps. This new civilization has heavily armored cavalry and infantry, mounted villagers, emissaries and more strange units. Their gunpowder units, like the mounted grenadier or raptors, use such weapons in devastating scatter and area of effect attacks. The mentioned emissaries will be able to capture neutral settlements to establish tributaries, which then net you economic and military advantages. Whoever thinks we'll get Age of Empires 5 soon doesn't seem to realize how much Microsoft is planning on milking the current game. And on the topic of milking a product for all it's worth, Age of Mythology Retold is also getting a new DLC. This one is inspired by Aztec civilization and it's titled Obsidian Mirror. we are going to get 3 new major gods: the Feathered Serpent, the Smoking Mirror, and the God of Sun and War. Each brings new powers, units, and mythical creatures, like for example the Soul Guide, Jaguar Riders, and even an armadillo-like myth unit. 9 new minor gods are also included in this DLC, as well as a new 12 mission long campaign and totally new mechanics. Because with the introduction of this DLC, we will be able to place traps, manipulate enemy unit behavior, harvest their life force, and construct towers from fallen foes. Some scary stuff right there. Personally, I know my kid is going to be excited for this, as Age of Mythology Retold is the RTS he has played the most so far. But what about you? Share your thoughts in the comments. This next new RTS project is a game I have never shown you before, and it is titled Unforsaken. Its devs have sent me some very early footage, but what you can spot instantly here is that their units are very original and have some insane shapes and sizes, inspired by all sorts of animals and imaginary creatures. This is going to be a story-driven, roguelite action RTS, and it's being made by just 3 indie developers in the Retold engine. Their Steam page is up already, so you can start wishlisting it to help them get more chances with game publishers and ask these devs for additional info. But what I can tell you about Unforsaken is that it has a dark fantasy setting. It's designed with 3 playable factions, worker units, and it will have heroes which can level up, and up to 3 of them taken on missions. These devs have a lot of RTS gaming experience, and one of them has been a top player in both StarCraft and Age of Empires games. You can even apply for future playtests at their website, which I have linked in the description. Another big game which got a new update is Sins of a Solar Empire 2. This one is about pirates, which just got a capital ship no less, while both the bounty system and minor faction raids have been tweaked. The new ship is the Galleon, a true pirate flagship with 4 unique abilities. You will most often see it during a new event, Pirate Incursion. This can be triggered on any map which has a pirate base. Even in the early, but more often in the mid-game, you will find yourself against a pirate king, his galleon flagship, and a growing armada of other pirate vessels. As for the bounty system, it is connected to the new bounty office in the markets window. Now you can spend resources and exotics to put a price on enemy planets. I think this is an amazing idea and makes the world of Sins much richer for it. So now, by placing this bounty on an enemy planet, you can set pirates against them, but keep in mind that any other player can also collect the bounty by dealing damage in that gravity well. When it comes to the mentioned raids, hostile minor factions can now conduct raids across the map instead of passively roaming near their territory. On top of all that, 2 new advent minor factions have been added, each with their own themed abilities of war and peace. Lastly, new capturable civilian structures, like for example extractors or research labs, can be found in uncolonizable gravity wells, so you have more stuff to fight over, and the capturing system now uses points instead of seconds. Let me know what you think of these changes and additions in the comments below. Lessaria Fantasy Kingdom Sim also received an important update. There are now new hero abilities, UI improvements, new story content in the form of 2 extra missions, but most importantly, a whole new gameplay mode. This is the Sandbox mode, which lets you play with up to 4 players and against AI-controlled kingdoms. This is not something I would have expected from a Majesty-inspired game, but I am interested to see what you think of it. As for the heroes, Barbarian now uses a battle horn that stuns surrounding enemies. Knight can gain a second wind to help him survive a losing battle, Ranger can heal his pet, while the Thief got better at evading, and Mage can teleport himself or even an ally off the battlefield. Devs also balanced out some units, changed the look of others or their buildings, and even added a building overlay with the tab key, which displays accumulated gold, attached characters, and current tasks, among other improvements and changes. Another Majesty-like game you can jump into now, because it was released some time ago, is Crown of Greed. It didn't land with a great review score, as most players seem to agree it was released before it was ready. But overall, it has the same gameplay ideas as the previous game I showcased, just with some minor details and combined progress done differently and a focus on Slavic mythology. The main difference you will find in Crown of Greed is that it has a sort of meta progression system for the campaign, as you can construct buildings that permanently unlock new gameplay options and strategic possibilities. This helps to make the 12 mission long campaign more replayable, and considering it was already designed to be non-linear, you might find new ways to play through it. Devs have already done several updates, and I hope in the long run this turns out to be a worthy Majesty successor. Next up, we have a free DLC released for Broken Arrow, featuring units from across the three Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, so it is titled Baltic Battalion. These units include tanks like the Leopard 2A8, L-39 Albatros low-flying jet, UH-60M Black Hawk heli, K9 Co and PZH-2000 self-propelled artillery, and lots of infantry unit variants. This is a unit deck specialization for the US faction, and many players have already tested these in multiplayer to various levels of success. Since I personally played with and against this specialization deck, I can tell you that some of these units are quite useful, while others might be cheap to bring to the battle, but don't offer as big of a punch as you would expect. On the bright side, the new map, Kadaga Military Base, is fun to play and also a challenge for players to find the optimal distribution. The balancing of the factions and units is an ongoing challenge for the developers, and players are doing what they can, while a brand new testing server and game version have been created by the devs and publishers. I know I mentioned Zero AD in many of my videos, but I have to tell you that its newest update added a new faction. This is one of the nomadic Germanic tribes, and it features an aggressive lineup of siege units. Other new changes and additions are engine upgrades, new tips and game setup options, as well as more variety for civilian units. Multiplayer lobby has been made more secure and some units balanced for optimal gameplay, along with the simplification of the naval technology tree. The Last General's solo indie dev keeps surprising us with new footage and info about his project, so I'm happy to share these with you all. He has created new units, made an UI overhaul, added day and night cycles, as well as volumetric clouds with smoke and dust just recently. The MA-19 Templar self-propelled artillery vehicle is one of the top new additions, and it comes with more features for rockets and missiles to not just make them work properly on the huge maps, but also function as close to the real-world counterparts as possible. Similar progress has been made on pathfinding and user interface, and as the Last General passed 120k wishlists on Steam, he posted some more gameplay clips, but also talked about the planned alpha playtest. There are 100 keys he has prepared, and he is currently making sure the game functions on a variety of hardware and totally offline before handing those out to playtesters among his future players. Jump into his Discord and wishlist his game if you haven't already, and I will bring you more news on this amazing project as soon as I have it. Yet another solo-developed game I'm going to show you for the first time ever is titled Enarian Orbital Command. Its design reminds of Homeworld, but its execution is not the same. There is no mothership, but a build menu still exists, and in it you order ships to be constructed as long as you have the required ore types. You can spend credits earned from filled contracts on upgrades to make your spacecraft more powerful, and you can get items and some upgrades as loot from destroyed enemies or by using salvage ships. There is a wide selection of mission contracts types you can take on, like for example Assault, Attack or Colossus, which is about defeating waves of enemy ships and then taking on a powerful Dreadnought class ship. Each ship has a hull, weapons, support slots for things like a tractor beam or shield repair, as well as engines and shield components. This is not this dev's first ever game, but it is just a start, and you can track its progress if you join the dev's Discord linked in the description. An equally fresh project in development is Build It Up the Holy Roman Empire, which is a mix between a medieval city builder and RTS. This is just alpha gameplay footage, so don't judge it too harshly. Its sole dev wants to create a game that lets you both construct cities and lay siege to them. This means you have multiple resources to gather, production chains, even trade to get your economy going. Then as you start to expand, spring, summer, autumn and winter changes will hit you harder when you try to figure out building with multiple different materials and field management for both livestock and cemeteries. At the late stage, once you have an army and fortress to protect your people, you can get influence with the church and be voted into the seat of an emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, hence the name of the game. This next game I have shown you just a bit before, but now I have far more footage of its gameplay. Its title is Veterans Napoleonic Wars, and its dev already showed us his design for Napoleon's Italian campaign, along with more battle gameplay. Since this is a wargame style RTT game, there are no bases, so you prepare your army beforehand. Naturally, formations are very important, as well as flanking maneuvers, shooting discipline, artillery bombardments and cavalry breakthroughs. The elements play an important part on the battlefield, so you have to adapt to rain, mud and sunshine across diverse landscapes. There is a sort of persistent army progression and customization while troops gain experience for every battle they survive. You can learn more on its Steam store page and from dev videos, so if you're interested, do wishlist it. In case you missed it, in one of my recent uploads I showcased the third faction of Ashes of the Singularity II, the upcoming sci-fi RTS from Oxide Games and Stardock. This is the Substrate faction, and its design is almost like insectoids with squishy armor but powerful shields, and they make great use of drones in swarms. These shields and long-distance attack drone swarms make the Substrate a fantastic hit-and-run faction, but once you get their top-tier units, you get both staying power with their high HP and regenerating shields, but also huge firepower. Besides adding the last faction, devs also changed the gameplay quite a bit, by removing building slots and instead adding a power system to regions. They have also changed the UI, introduced 3D icons, and improved both pathfinding and positioning of units inside armies. You can see more about this faction and the recent gameplay changes in my dedicated video linked up here and down in the description. Another new indie game, but this one already released, is Temporal Titans. It's not an RTS, but a tower defense game with an interesting premise, where aliens attacked our planet, but a small squad of fighters found a way to travel back in time and hit the aliens where and how they know it will hurt them. For this they use Time Walker mechs, which are capable of manipulating time in combat, among their other abilities, and defend your salvage teams, which gather equipment, supplies and survivors from the planet's ruined surface. One of my favorite indie games, and which has had amazing post-release support, is Diplomacy is Not an Option. These devs have been extremely busy releasing one update after another and getting into the theme of the moment with content like the Loving Update, Protected Update, and are preparing the Deep Update, which will be about city improvements. Lately the game got much better RAM utilization needed for its massive-sized battles and sieges. 3 challenges under the name A Tribute to Rampart, which are of tower defense style, as well as a mounted crossbowman unit and Rebel Barracks, from which you can recruit Raider with Shield, Rebel Catapult, Rebel Hulk and Rebel Ballistae. With its campaign and a huge set of other game modes and challenges to play, Diplomacy is Not an Option is always worth revisiting. This next indie project is titled Frontline Logistics Isarian Warfare, and as the title says, it is about resource management on dynamic battlefields. Your job is not as much to fight as it is to keep your vehicles and soldiers in fighting shape. You do this with logistics, scavenging, and you can pause the game to help you get your bearings when things get too hectic. The game even includes first aid, meals, transport of wounded soldiers, and more, like destructible structures and receiving frontline journalists for interviews. Another tower defense game, and this one even has it in the title, is 2112 TD Earth Tower Defense Survival. It has a fascinating art style and it's not these devs' first game. What you can expect from it is a 12 mission long campaign with lots of nightmarish bioorganic abominations as enemies, and some new tower types like the laser and sniper. Interestingly enough, this game also has drones, which can deploy fortifications and can be upgraded with weapons. To finish the job, you can also use airstrikes, an orbital laser cannon, and there is a tech tree as well as an endless survival mode. That is all the RTS news for this time, but more will come soon, and until then check out the cards on the screen, and I wish you all happy gaming.